is Angela, and welcome to my channel, Angie the ENTJ. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click on the notifications bell so you'll know whenever I upload any new content. Okay, I am still here working on the series about the natural hair movement. It's taken a bit of time, but I will have it out soon. In the meantime, and in light of events surrounding Rhoda Osman in Houston, allegedly getting hit in the face with a brick, there are some doubts surrounding the individual incident that, she may have made that up. Time will tell. However, by contrast, there are so many real life and verified incidents of abuses to women, particularly black women, from random angry males, especially random angry black males, that range from being hit in the face with a skateboard for not giving up a phone number to being thrown into a dumpster or worse. And in the midst of this incident involving Roe, I observed a potential grift developing. The grift is that in order for black women to be protected, they must marry a black man. In other words, you have to give up some womb in order to gain protection. The absurdity of it all. The reason why I know that it is a game is because I have been saying it for the longest that there are more men on the planet currently than there are women, and the consequences of this reality is very severe. The grifters of patriarchy are afraid that the very males whom they've encouraged to be malicious brutes towards each other and also towards women will one day wake up to realize, hey, we're dumb and we've been played for fools, and they're sitting back watching us knock off each other, and that they will take the energy from attacking one another and attacking women to attacking the very people that put them in this position to begin with. So people like an Andrew Tate, a Tommy Sotomayor, and a Kevin Samuels, well, at least he used to, just continue to rouse up these people and stroke their egos in exchange for their money. And when these dudes got their money by crapping on the image of women, especially black women, in terms of Tommy Sotomayor and in terms of the guy formerly known as Kevin Samuels, because he's no longer with us, Red Bull gave him his wings. When they were able to get themselves away from the economic consequences of their grift, where they individually would not be the poor, struggling, single, and lonely males they grifted from, who have not had relations in over a year, once they got good and solid, they shifted their grift.
I said, no, but you're a human trafficker via the lover boy method. I said, what's that? It's where you pretend to love them. So what, being nice? So I was nice to some girls 10 years ago? Is that my crime? Maybe I did love them. But we're not together anymore, so what? I pretended? Who said I pretended? Prove I pretended to love. And then what did I pretend to love them to achieve? I was all about trying to get paid. Like I used sex as a tool to make women love me so they'd obey me and live in my house and make me money. That's what I wanted. The case against me is that I pretended to love girls to make them do TikTok for money. I get called a pimp a lot, but and the reason I use the term is because I don't see it as a negative term. If you would have
pick of the litter when it comes to women and the life I want to live, as far as like the house I want to live in, the life I want to provide to my future children, I'm really kind of just running away.
Dude, you're 31 years old. I need you to say you're 31. I'm still hearing it. No offense. The dude that just called, 22, you sound just like him, and you're 10 years older.
Yeah.
You should know what you want to be doing by 31 years old. And the first thing that came out of your mouth was increase your value, and the first thing that came out was something regarding a woman. So let's just cut to the chase. You want to increase your value so you can get a better quality of poon. That's the first thing that came out of your mouth, man.
Yeah, that's number one.
All right, then. Well, that's a shitty reason to increase your value.
And those are low-level grifters. The higher-level grifters involve different institutions as well. For instance, there is this so-called pastor who did not pay for his trans woman services, and she put him on blast, exposing that pulpit pookie.
I'll get you off this camera when you give me my money. 15 minutes, 125. You know this real. How many times a week we meet up, Joe? This time, really, you think we finna? No, I'm sorry. Your wife's gonna see this. Your wife is gonna see this. Pay me my money or get a divorce. Which one is gonna be?
Get me off that damn
Which one is it gonna be?
Get me off that damn
She's gonna know.
Get me off that damn
3-4 times a week he here, y'all. Facebook, he's here, meeting with me in this room.
Shout out to Angry Biracial, who refers to the fake Muslim dudes as pookies and kufis. I will add that there are some harlots who hide behind hijabs. They're not true Muslimas, but they shifted their grift in order to milk the good and salt of the earth people dry of their resources. They hide behind unks too, Nature Boy and Polite and so many others. See, I am here for the good salt of the earth people, the masses, the ones that just want to live their lives in peace without drama. A lot of you are still practicing the religion that your families taught you, and that is perfectly fine. Some of you may have changed your religions because a number of reasons. It may have been because it was a popular thing to do at the time, or you were fleeing away from drama and found peace where you converted. And hey, that is perfectly fine too. I was raised as a Christian. I practiced Islam for 7 years, and now I have been where I am now as a practitioner of Kemetic spirituality. What I have found is that the majority of people who convert to one faith or another do so because it has more to do with how it makes them feel than it does with the philosophy in and of itself. By contrast, I switched to Islam because I outgrew Christianity, and I am saying this very respectfully. I was motivated by growing my relationship with God, and the philosophy of Islam at the time made sense and answered questions that Christianity philosophically could not, and not because of some bad experience in my church or with the pastor or with the people. I was not church hurt, and I still feel blessed that the people that were in the church of my childhood were the ones to introduce me to God in their own humble and sincere way. I can say the same of how the Muslims accepted me when I converted to Islam, and I have found similar people within the realm of traditional African spirituality as well. A brief of a disclaimer. I am not proselytizing. This video or any of my other videos is not, nor will they ever be, about converting people into what I do. You are fine the way that you are. So long as you're an honest person and you don't hurt people, you're good with me. What I have is a unique perspective that many may not have, simply because most people do not switch religions. So someone, for instance, can come to you and say something like they were a poor, young, innocent woman in their mid to late 20s who converted to Islam and just so happened to, end up being the second wife of a prominent man within that community who supposedly had robbed them of 40 grand. And you will probably, you'll be thinking, oh, that poor lady, because that's an awful thing to happen, right? However, because I practiced that religion for over 7 years and was well submersed in that community and that culture, I can tell you that something is not right about that story. Okay. First off, most women who are converted to Islam are not doing it so that they can become polygamous, especially when they are at the prime of their lives. They are not looking forward to moving into another woman's home and boning her man like she owns him, all under the guise of being a second wife. That's just not how it works. And real talk, if you really want me to go there, the Muslims, especially here in the United States, have prenuptial agreements that prohibit polygamy in their marriage. In other words, if the husband dares to get a second wife, it is an automatic divorce in their world. Also, most Muslim men here in the U.S. don't even want to put up with the hassle that goes with polygamy. They're content with the one wife that they have and their household filled with children. They're happy. However, if you've never practiced a religion and you're not familiar with some of the nuances related to it, then you may be vulnerable to the antics of a grifter, and I want to share with you how to spot them out. Before we get into how to spot out the antics, first let's do a brief numerical analysis of the world's population and its economic impact. Understanding this will make it easier for you to spot the grifters, the charlatans, the pookies in pulpits, the Pookies and Koofies, the Pimpin' Pookies, formerly known as, or maybe currently known as, depending, as harlots and hijabs. So let's get into it. This is a map of the world, and what I am showing here are the general places where there is an overpopulation of men. They are marked by red indicators. The ones that are marked by blue show that these are the places where the men are migrating from. The green indicators are places where there is what is known as gender parity. And what gender parity means is simply a phrase to state that for each man there is a woman, and for each woman there is a man. So it's about 50-50, so there's somebody for everybody, right? Okay. The problem is that there is an overpopulation of males on the planet. The ones who are financially better off will migrate to greener pastures. Those greener pastures are in places that are typically going to be located in Western nations, which are indicated by green markers. Now let's get into some things here. We're in 2023, about to be in 2024, and currently there are 107 males for every 100 females on the planet, thanks in part due to toxic patriarchy, the biggest grift of all times. And the ratio should be more like a 1-to-1, such as 100 men for every 100 women, or 107 girls and women for every 107 boys and men. But patriarchy has messed it up very badly. So you see, prior to 1960, there was gender parity, or an even ratio of men and women on the planet. So it was about 50-50 globally. This meant that there was a relative even number of boy and girl babies born. This also meant that by the time each girl and boy arrived to adulthood, let's say about 20 years later, there will be an even number of men and women within the dating pool. During the 1960s, however, a new technology was on the horizon known as sonograms. Nowadays, it is known as ultrasounds. So what it meant was that families could know the gender of the child before birth. Many cultures in the world prefer a son so that they can pass down an inheritance to him. Also, many cultures see raising a girl as a burden that will bankrupt them. So what happened is that women in these cultures were forced to abort their daughters from their wombs in favor of giving birth to a son. However, what they failed to realize was that nature is a silent genius, and nature always wins. Gender selective abortions is one of the reasons why there is a gender imbalance in the world today. Had girls been allowed to be born, then there would not be a woman shortage like we have today. However, since different societies favor patriarchy over the silent genius of nature, this is how we got here to having 107 boys and men for every 100 girls and women globally. In more simpler terms, if you were to line up every girl and woman, each with a boy and a man respectfully, you will run out of girls and women. And once you run out of girls and women, the number of boys and men who would be left over will exceed more than 70 million. More than 70 million girls and women are resting in their graves right now as a result of patriarchal violence in the form of femicide. Yes, for every girl who was not born, for every girl and woman who has been massacred as a result of an incel committing a mass shooting, or as a result of war, honor killings, witch hunts, domestic violence, stranger violence, go down the list. For every woman that is in a grave right now, there is a man walking around who is longing for her. However, patriarchy has fooled him into believing that there are more of us than what is true. And there's a reason why they keep putting this up in their faces. In addition to this, the failing patriarchy is allowing them to continue to scapegoat and gaslight women for the problems that we see today, when we were not even able to open a checking account without our husband's permission in the United States until 1974, collectively speaking, with the passing of the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. That's not even 50 years ago. We did not create the laws that kept us oppressed. Patriarchy did that. And the reality is, one of the major consequences of this is that it has intensified the dating competition between the men who can versus those who cannot. Women as a collective do not have anything to do with this. And this dating and mating competition is intensifying too. The grifters are afraid because the reality is that we can not go anywhere on the planet and find a factory to create women within an hour or two. The patriarchs are panicking. They are panicking because they know that there is a crisis, a growing crisis of single and lonely men. In 2019, more than 30% of men in the United States said that they had not had sex within the past year. So these grifters are afraid of the single and lonely men finding out the truth, that they have been played, and it is not women's fault, but the institutions that taught them to be uneducated brutes. So the grifters are perfectly fine with these frustrated males blaming and scapegoating women because it keeps the focus off of them. They will also kowtow to any absurd ideas that males have in order to keep them pacified. That's why the politicians will just go along with the male's idea of female reproductive rights just to keep the attention off of the problems they have nurtured from one generation to the next. What the heck does a male know about a womb when he has a scrotum? But they'll allow him to make decisions on it. Right now, we are in a time when it is all falling apart and there is not enough women left to blame, thanks to femicide that was fueled by patriarchy. The grifters will also attempt to trick unsuspecting women into untenable situations. They have already tried to push polygamy, but in order for polygamy to work, there would need to have been more girls born than boys. Like, for instance, more than 4 girls born for each boy. Well, nature creates a 1-to-1 ratio, so polygamy is even more disruptive. This is why there is so much instability in many of the places where it is practiced, such as the South Sudan. They're at war right now. You see, they will also attempt to market polyamory in a way that centers the male with a lot of women orbiting around him. Again, anything to keep that young, horny male's attention off of them. So if you want polyamory, okay, fine. Yeah, get a lot of women to orbit around you. You see, it also serves as a slick way to entice women into polygamy. For those who are practicing polyamory in a way that is fair, consensual, and transparent like mature adults, hey, I'm not coming for you. I'm not judging you. What I am doing, though, is pointing out the antics that grifters will use and pull in order to avoid the consequences of upholding the very patriarchy that has left them single and lonely. Another grift that I see on the horizon, which is part of the reason why I decided to take from part 4 of the series about the natural hair movement, is this grift that black women will have to marry black men in order to gain their protection. When I heard this one, honey, I began to laugh. I began to laugh because it was just more confirmation that their grift has run dry. They have burned their bridges in different communities, from the church to the masjid, to the various temples, to swirling, to their passports and so forth. They've been run up out of Brazil. So now the gig is up and the world is on them because they have taken their dustiness wherever they've gone to. And now all of a sudden they are fixing their mouths to talk about marrying black women in order to protect us. You've got to be kidding me. So what it amounts to is that you have to exchange access to your womb for somebody who can't even protect his scrotum from being frisked by law enforcement. Or What all of these grifters, from institutions to low-level dusties, are realizing the hard way is that women are the economy. We are the powerhouse. Without women, there is no economy. Some of them, like an Andrew Tate or a Priscilla Clark, will attempt to hoard women for this very reason. They want to shift their grift to the place where women will be so that they can remain relevant. It is all a ploy for them to avoid the consequences of what they associated themselves with for years on end. What are those consequences? Well, to start, a bunch of angry males with blue balls.
So historically, when there's been a surplus male population and it's led to violence, how has it ended? Jonathan Albert 244 asks a great question. And the answer is likely what you think. I'll use the 3 cases from the Hudson and Den Boer article from 2002 I mentioned in the last post. In terms of the Nian Rebellion in 19th century China, it didn't directly topple the Qing dynasty, but I'll use the keywords here, immense economic devastation and loss of life that had significant impacts for the 20th century China. In terms of medieval Portugal, the surplus population plus a papal decree contributed to their participation in the Reconquista, so you got crusades plus subsequent colonialism. It also led to the death of like 25% of the adult male nobles. And in terms of historical China, it led to the founding of a number of monastic brotherhoods, but also like widespread banditry and rebellions and like. So we got wushu out of it. It isn't all bad, but significant impacts.
They do not want to be around a bunch of miserable males, depressed, not bathing, crying every time they speak to them, needing a place to stay for the winter because they no longer have a girlfriend to leech from, begging them for money. Go down the list. That's why they're hopping over here to where we've been the entire time. And they can't escape into the church because many good, salt of the earth people are hip to their game. They cannot jump over into the masjid because, you know what? Either you need to show your sincerity by learning those Quranic verses, wearing the hijab if you're a woman, going to Juma every Friday if you're a man, because you will soon be called to recite the Adhan or the call to prayer. The call to prayer is, that's when you hear them say, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. See, they'll have to learn that one. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. That's the Shahada. Ashhadu an la Muhammadan Rasulullah. They say it again. Ashhadu an la Muhammadan Rasulullah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. See, I don't practice Islam anymore, but there are some things I remember because during the time that I was practicing Islam, I was sincere, as were many of the people who I knew at the time. And see, listen, if you're a man of the house, you have to lead your family in prayer. That means that you will have to be learning Arabic of the Quran very intently. See, they can't just hop up in that religion like they used to in the past. And for an English speaker, that takes time because not only are you have to learn the alphabet, the Arabic alphabet. Then you have to turn around and learn the little vowel symbols. Whenever you see like a word in Arabic, in the Quran especially, they have like little marks above it. Some of them look different than others. You got to learn that. Not only that, the Arabic, depending on where the letter is in the word, it looks slightly different at the beginning or at the middle, at the end. You got to learn all of that. That takes time to do. You have to be truly dedicated to doing that. So if you are truly about that religion, especially nowadays, see, I was practicing it before the internet became what it was. So I was the one with my Arabic dictionary and my Yusuf Ali version of the Quran, and I was sitting up there learning it. That's why I still to this day, even though it's been a while since I practiced it, I remember some things. Here, like the first thing you learn is Al-Fatiha. Here how I go. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. What it means is I seek refuge against Satan. And then they'll go Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, which means in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most kind. Okay, and then it goes on each verse, like what they call for those of you who are Bible thumpers. Okay, think of it like this. In the Quran, they have what are called surahs, okay? So what you call your books, they call surahs, okay? It means chapter. And then each one, when you say a book, then you got your verses. They call it an ayat, okay? So it goes like Al-Fatiha. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanirrahim. Malik Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. And I always get this messed up because it's hard for an English speaker to pronounce it. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim. This part. Ghayra magdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. And I haven't practiced Islam in years, and I remember that much. I guarantee you I have forgotten more than what some of these people were willing to learn. I can tell you a lot of stuff, honey. What's another one? One I used to like really say a lot, because it's like the one that you say whenever you are in a situation where you have to rely on faith. It goes like this. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalad wa lam yulad, wa lam yakun kufuwan ahad. Amin. And then there was another one. Okay. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Kul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, malikin nas, ilahin nas, min sharri waswasil khannas, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, min al-jannati wan nas. Amin. You see, nowadays, these grifters can't just hop up over in that religion like they used to in the past. All of us good and salt of the earth people who were guided by our relationship with the Creator have seen these charlatans come and go. And most of them are still eating pork. They could not recite the Quran. They barely knew the Bible. And don't get me started about the traditional African spirituality who can only say Hotep, but be trying to get women to live in polygamy with them. I even helped one woman some time ago who told me about this dude, because, you know, people in my orbit, they know who I am and they know what I do. Told me about this dude who was supposed to be in the Kemetic way of life like me. But I had never heard of him. But she swore up and down that he was so knowledgeable. She was willing. She said that she was willing to go and move 100 miles away from her hometown with her small little girl in tow to go and live with him in an apartment with his first wife and their children. She wanted to be their second wife. She was so excited to call him and to have him to talk to me. So, you know, she dialed the dude up. I played it real cool, y'all. I played it real cool. I was just like, oh, really? He said all that? For real? She's like, yeah, you want to talk to him? I said, sure. So I played it real cool. She dialed him up, told him about me. And she was just so excited. She had a twinkle in her eye and everything. Like, you know, she just didn't know any better. And I'm glad that the divine positioned me to be by her side that day. I thank God for that. I'm not saying I'm not up here saying that I'm a goddess or anything like that. I'm just saying that I see the ancestors at work. I see the divine at work. So when she dialed this dude up, told him about me, and told him that she could not wait for us to meet and whatnot, and she was just so excited. And when she gave me the phone, dude was all like, Hotep, how you doing? And you know what I said? I said, Hetepu, Uncle Jasanap, Nachkarat. It's a basic greeting offering peace, long life, prosperity, and good health. And afterwards, how are you doing? It's a basic question. You know, because when you go into any community and you're going to be there for a while, at bare minimum, you should know how to greet. You know, for the Arabs, they'll say, marhaba, you know, ma salama. You know, you'll pick up those little nuances, okay? So for the Kemetic, bare minimum, you should say Hetepu, Uncle Jasanab, Nachkarat. It's just a greeting. EET Imhotep is another one. Shem Imhotep is another one. Do you know he started stumbling and told me that he did not know how to respond? The same guy who was willing to get a second wife did not know how to respond. I gave the phone back to her. He was on speaker. But when I gave the phone back to her and she said a few more words to him, and then she ended the call. Afterwards, she was disgusted with him because she realized that he had wasted her time and had her thinking that he was such this knowledgeable sage. I told her that people who are truly practicing a spiritual way of life are not trying to source for young women, that they would be too busy and too focused on deepening their relationship with their creator. I said, you would know when you walk into that person's home, like when you walk into my home, you will see this is what I do. Okay? This is not a game for me. It never was. That you will be able to see it and they will be able to show it with sincerity. Because if he was such a sage, he should have been able to teach her that much. You see, good salt of the earth people, don't let these charlatans grift and manipulate you into one of their fraudulent schemes. Times are hard for them right now, and they are looking for an escape. They're wanting to find a way to alleviate the pressure of reality lowering the boom onto them, onto their toxic patriarchy, and onto their overpopulation of boys and men. You, as you are, look in the mirror, and whatever you see, you are good the way that you are. You do not need to change except for the better, and that is a process that is between you and your creator. You do not have to move across country, across cities, across states, across the globe, nature boy. And you do not have to agree with sharing a dude, Dr. Umar. You do not have to conform to anything that you are not comfortable with. You are perfectly fine, and you are able to grow tall right where you are, right where you stand. You do not have to be isolated with a demagogue in order to feel better about yourself. Watch out for these people. It will be males and unwomen alike. Unwoman, that term comes from Nyla Vibes. That's where I first heard it. Shout out to her. The unwomen will be trying to get rid of their sons on unsuspecting young women. They may turn a blind eye to their grown adult son lying to your teenage daughter about his age while he commits carnal knowledge inside her home under her roof on her watch with your little teenage daughter. She's willing to do it because whatever it takes, anything to get that overgrown and obnoxious dude out of her house, putting a dent into her couch, eating up her food, stinking up her house. Even if your daughter has to take the L, get pregnant, have babies, and move out on food stamps in Section 8, ruining her future. Anything to get her overgrown son out of her home. So watch out for older women who have overgrown sons, living at home with them and being unproductive, trying to be friendly with you, especially if you have a daughter. She's miserable because her investment in patriarchy is failing too. Her son's father, the baby daddy, and his mother did to the unwoman what she is trying to do to you and your teenage daughter and any other unsuspecting woman. Watch out for her too. So I said that I was going to keep this video brief about these charlatans jumping into new spaces when their grift runs dry. They can't run back to Islam or traditional African spirituality. And the church is tired of the scandals that they're bringing into their spaces as well. So they're hunting for a new avenue, a new frontier that's going to be filled with women in order for them to grift on. Okay? So don't let them enslave you into giving up your resources in exchange for a grift. Watch out for them. And make sure you take care of yourself and be safe and know that you are already enough. I sincerely like to thank you for watching this video. I will soon have part 4 of the Natural Hair Movement series out. Please be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and click on the notifications bell so you'll know whenever I upload any new content. Take care until next time.